I went wild foraging in the woods for the first time in my life, searching for young garlic shoots early in March. And though wild garlic grows in abundance in England, it took me 3 forest walks and 2 days to find a patch. Wild foraging is pretty common in the country I was born in, especially mushroom foraging come autumn, but I am ashamed to say that I have never, even once in my life, been interested in it up until now. Living in a place surrounded by nature, I inevitably became interested in all the gifts nature provides to us, and wild garlic seemed like a perfect place to start. It grows in shady and damp conditions, quite often on the slopes or on the banks of a running stream in ancient woodlands England is so rich with. With its shape, it can be easily confused with the poisonous lily of the valley, but you will never mistake a wild garlic smell. If hesitant, wait until it's in bloom, but of course, it's best tasting when young. One of the things I'm becoming more thoughtful of each time I either venture out for long countryside walks or for foraging adventures is respect to nature, locals, and environments I encounter on my way. More people moving out of the cities into the countryside means habitats getting disturbed by the curious minds. And it's wonderful learning about nature, foraging, and getting interest in the wildlife, but it's also important to be respectful and responsible in our actions so that the wildlife continues to thrive. Some minor things to remember when foraging is to take only what you need. Only pick wild garlic spots where it grows in abundance. Don't strip an entire plant off its leaves completely. Never pluck the plant from the ground, otherwise an entire habitat can get destroyed and it won't grow as beautifully again next year. And on top of that, digging up a wild plant from its habitat is also illegal. In fact, in many countries in Europe, wild garlic is considered an endangered species and it's illegal to pick it. But here in England we're very lucky to have an incredible supply in many woodlands, and it's wonderful that we are keeping it that way. As this was my first time cooking with wild garlic and I needed to make something quick and long-lasting, I decided to make garlic salt and pesto, which I then stored in the freezer. I washed it thoroughly in cold water first, and I'm so glad I did, because even though the leaves looked clean at the first glance, the water in a bowl I washed it in turned slightly brown and full of sand. You don't want to consume that. Wild garlic salt and pesto are the easiest and best ways of preserving wild garlic, and they are super versatile. You can use the salt instead of regular salt for many dishes, and you can add pesto into omelets, spread it on the bread, add to pasta, and use as a dip. Possibilities really are endless. And if you're a garlic lover like I am, well, it's a perfect condiment for you. Do be aware though that when cooking with wild garlic, your entire kitchen and maybe even the entire house will also smell like it. To be honest, I couldn't get off the garlic smell from my hands and hair and clothes and my house for a few days after I went foraging. I collected about 200 grams of wild garlic on my forage walk, and I used about 60 grams of it for salt and 100 grams for pesto, and then I froze the rest. Because my blender is super small, I made pesto twice, each time using 50 grams of garlic, 25 grams of Parmesan cheese, 25 grams of pine nuts, about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and a bit of salt, and also half a lemon and its zest. Combine garlic, cheese, and nuts in a blender first, and you can actually use any hard cheese and any nuts of your choice for this. You don't have to use Parmesan and you don't have to use pine nuts. Almonds or hazelnuts will work as well. Then add olive oil and lemon juice and zest. Add more or less oil depending on your preferred thickness of pesto. Fresh condiment will store in the fridge for about a week, but you can also freeze it and it will last you for months. For garlic salt, I used about 60 grams of fresh wild garlic leaves, which I blitzed with 80 grams of salt until it formed a paste. Then mixed another 400 grams of salt with the paste until it was combined and no clumps of garlic remained. It all turned a pretty green color, like emeralds. I spread it in a thin layer on a baking tray and left it to dry for about a day. Or you can also keep it for 2 hours on low temperature in the oven. Garlic salt can store for up to a year in an airtight container or a glass jar, but it will gradually lose its flavors, so you might want to use it up faster than that. As I'm pretty new to foraging myself, I'm curious to hear what your favorite things to forage for are. Have you ever been foraging yourself? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.